What's up, Rashad? We got another video. This video is the worst jobs in human history by the painful historian.
Gong farmers knight soil. In Tudor England during the 1500s, there existed a profession so foul that workers were only permitted to operate between the hours of 9 at night and 5 in the morning. The gong farmer removed human waste from cesspits and outdoor privies. The work paid well, as much as 2 shillings per ton, because almost no one would volunteer for it. The cesspits beneath wealthy homes could reach depths of 15 feet. They collected months or even years of human excrement from entire households. When a pit reached capacity, someone had to descend into it. That someone was the gong farmer. He climbed down a ladder into complete darkness, carrying only a lantern and a wooden bucket. The waste came up to his chest, sometimes higher. The smell was overwhelming, but smell was not the real danger. As organic matter decomposed in the sealed pits, it produced methane and hydrogen sulfide gas. Both gases are heavier than air. They sink to the bottom of enclosed spaces and displace oxygen. A man breathing normally would not realize anything was wrong until...
And this is right too, bro. I mean, this is back in the day, but I'm gonna be honest with you. I feel like that's why you can't be a slave to money, bro. Because I look at it too. Like, I mean, everybody has to do a job. So even if you think, why do people want to work at this place for so long or this place for so long? Somebody has to work there at the end of the day. So it's like, yeah, I mean, he may have not wanted to work here, but somebody was gonna have to. You know what I'm saying? And if he getting good money, that's cool, but it's just not worth your time, bro. Like, I feel like there's so many different ways you can get money. I mean, it's just back then, but just in general now, like, there's so many different ways you get money. There's no reason why you should be forcing yourself to do something that you know you will never enjoy doing for the rest of your life just because it pays good. You know what I'm saying?
it was too late. On a night in 1543, a gong farmer named Richard descended into a cesspit in London. He had worked this trade for 6 years. He knew the risks. He took his first breath at the bottom of the ladder and felt nothing unusual. Within 30 seconds, his vision blurred. The gases were already affecting his brain. He tried to climb back up, but his muscles would not
I don't think they had math back then either.
respond. Confusion set in. He could not remember why he was standing in waste. His legs gave out. He collapsed face first into the sewage. His lungs still tried to pull in air, but there was no oxygen left to breathe. Just methane, hydrogen sulfide, and the thick smell of decay. His body convulsed as his brain starved. 2 other workers heard the splash and rushed to help, but both were driven back by the fumes before they could reach him. Richard drowned in human waste, suffocated by invisible gas, 15 feet below the streets of London. Climbing boys' suffocation. In Victorian London, children as young as 4 years old were sold or apprenticed to master chimney sweeps. They were called climbing boys. Their job was to climb inside chimneys and scrape away the soot and ash that accumulated from coal fires. The flues were narrow, some measuring only 9 inches square. An adult could not fit. A small child could. The boys climbed using their knees and elbows, pressing against opposite walls to inch upward in complete darkness. The soot filled their eyes and mouths. Their skin would be black for days. Many developed lung disease before they turned 10, but the worst
Simon Williams
auditioning for 4 years old, bro. When I was in 4 years
danger
old,
was getting stuck. On a winter morning in 1861, a 7-year-old boy named Thomas was sent up a chimney in a townhouse in Westminster. The homeowner had complained about poor draw in the fireplace. Thomas had climbed this particular chimney twice before. He knew the route. 30 feet up, the flue made a sharp turn to the left. Thomas squeezed into the bend and pushed upward with his legs. His knee locked against a brick that jutted inward. He could not move it. He tried to pull back down, but his other leg was wedged at an angle. He was trapped in a stone coffin barely wider than his body. He called out for help. His voice echoed down the flue. The master sweep heard him and shouted instructions from below. Thomas could not move. The master made a decision that was common practice at the time. He lit a small fire in the fireplace, believing the smoke and heat would force the boy to climb faster. The smoke rose through the flue. Thomas began to cough. The heat intensified. He screamed. Neighbors in the street...
He's taking the chimney, so you lit a fire. I mean, I guess that's adrenaline, but like, what? How would he even like if he didn't survive? It's like, yo, obviously
heard him through the chimney top.
How would you be able to
the position of his body compressed his chest. Each breath became harder. Soot filled his airways. The smoke thickened. His screams grew weaker, then stopped. It took 45 minutes for Thomas to suffocate. Workers had to break through the wall to remove his body. Match girls.
That man suffered for 45 minutes, bro. And then chimney surrounded by fire. I pity him though. He was only 7.
Flossy jaw. In the 1880s, young women and girls worked 12 to 14-hour shifts in the match factories of London. The largest was Bryant and May, where hundreds of workers dipped wooden sticks into a paste containing white phosphorus. This chemical made the match heads...
I just can't imagine working that long and barely even get money back then, bro. Because I didn't don't even want to work 12-hour shifts now, but imagine you work a 12-hour shift and you only getting like $10 a day. You know what I'm saying? I can imagine that, bro. And it's like, you also, like, these are people that have to feed their families up. Bro. If things was as expensive as it was before, everybody would then maybe broke.
Ignite with a
Except the elite, like the honor the sword
single strike. It also poisoned everyone who handled it. The phosphorus came as a fine powder that hung in the air of the factory floor. The women breathed it in with every breath. It coated their hands and faces. When they ate their meals without washing, they swallowed it. The factory owners knew the substance was dangerous, but dipped Will's Fossey jaw. In the 1880s, young women and girls worked 12 to 14-hour shifts in the match factories of London. The largest was Bryant and May, where hundreds of workers dipped wooden sticks into a paste containing white phosphorus. This chemical made the match heads ignite with a single strike. It also poisoned everyone who handled it. The phosphorus came as a fine powder that hung in the air of the factory floor. The women breathed it in with every breath. It coated their hands and faces. When they ate their meals without washing, they swallowed it. The factory owners knew the substance was dangerous, but did nothing to protect the workers. Complaints were met with threats of dismissal. The first symptom was usually a toothache. Then the gums would swell and turn dark.
Like, people would literally back then work through anything just so you get money.
By the time a worker realized something was seriously wrong, the phosphorus had already begun destroying the bone itself. The medical term was phosphorus necrosis. The workers called it Fossey jaw. A 16-year-old girl named Sarah worked at Bryant and May for 2 years. In 1887, she developed pain in her lower jaw. Within a week, her face had swollen grotesquely on one side. The skin split open and released a mixture of pus and fragments of rotting bone. The smell was unbearable, a combination of decay and sulfur. Her coworkers could smell her from across the room. At night, her jaw glowed faintly green in the darkness. The phosphorus was still active in the necrotic tissue. She could no longer eat solid food. Speaking caused intense pain. A doctor examined her and said the only option was to remove the entire lower jaw. Without the surgery, the infection would spread to her brain. Sarah refused the operation. She had seen other girls after the procedure. Their faces collapsed inward, unable to speak or eat normally. The infection progressed over 3 weeks. Fever set in as the bacteria reached her bloodstream.
I ain't gonna lie, I don't think really sue back then either. Like, you weren't allowed to sue people.
She died from septicemia in her family's tenement, delirious and in agony, her jawbone still glowing softly beneath her ruined face. Leech collector's bait. In 19th century Europe, doctors relied on leeches to perform bloodletting, a common medical treatment. The demand was constant. Hospitals and physicians needed fresh leeches by the hundreds. Poor women made their living catching them. The method was simple and brutal. They used their own bodies as bait. The women would wade into marshes and stagnant ponds where leeches...
I ain't gonna lie, bro. Y'all females, nothing today, bro. That is a reward, bro. But you sitting in a pond full of leeches, bro? Now, how do you even benefit from this?
Leeches lived. They lifted their skirts and stood barefoot in the murky water. Then they waited. The leeches, drawn by warmth and movement, attached themselves to the women's legs and began to feed. After 20 to 30 minutes, the collectors would pluck the engorged leeches off and place them in baskets. Then they would wade back in and repeat the process. Each leech consumed between 5 and 15 milliliters of blood. But the real problem was not the feeding itself. Leech saliva contains an anticoagulant that prevents blood from clotting.
Hi. My daughter's in ballet, and
you need a set of bun, and you don't know what set means.
Set.
Okay, you're gonna want shine and hold.
After a leech detached, the wound would continue bleeding for hours. A woman might collect 30 leeches in a single session. The blood loss added up quickly. A woman named Margaret worked as a leech collector in Scotland in 1842. She had been doing the work for 3 years. Every week, she lost hundreds of milliliters of blood. Her skin was pale. She tired easily. The constant blood loss had made her chronically anemic, but she had no other way to earn money. One afternoon in July, Margaret waded into a pond she had worked many, but she had no...
Stuff like that, bro. It's like you damn near giving your whole life up for some money, bro. That's why we trying to tell you, y'all can't be a slave to money, because it's just like, it's not going to get you anywhere.
no other way to earn money. One afternoon in July, Margaret waded into a pond she had worked many times before. She stood in water up to her knees. Within minutes, more than 40 leeches had attached to her legs. She did not notice how many there were until she tried to collect them. By then, she was already feeling dizzy. She bent down to pull them off and lost her balance. She fell forward into the water. Too weak to stand back up, she tried to crawl toward the bank. Her arms would not support her weight. The leeches continued feeding as she lay face down in the shallow pond. Margaret drowned in less than 2 feet of water, unable to lift her head. Mudlarks river scavenge. In 18th century London, the River Thames was an open sewer. Factories dumped chemical waste directly into the water. Households sent their sewage through pipes that emptied into the river. Animal carcasses floated past daily. Human bodies appeared regularly, victims of crime or despair. At low tide, the river revealed banks of thick black mud contaminated with everything the city discarded. The poorest residents, many of them children, waded into this mud to search for anything they could sell. They were called mudlarks. They scavenged for pieces of coal, rope, nails, bits of metal, and animal bone. A good day's work might earn them 3 or 4 pennies. It was barely enough to survive, but...
You mean to tell me I'm in dirt, all this poop, animal carcass, human carcasses, to get, things to sell, and all I get is 3 pennies, bro? I ain't gonna lie, bro. Y'all had it bad back then, bro. I feel bad for y'all, bro. 3 pennies, bro. You know what you can do with 3 pennies now, bro? Shit, I honestly don't think you can do anything with 3 pennies, bro. I'm gonna keep it so smooth with you, bro. I ain't gonna lie. Y'all got it, bro.
They had no alternative. The mud itself was dangerous. It could reach waist deep in places. Sharp objects hid beneath the surface. Broken glass, rusted metal, and fragments of pottery cut through bare feet and legs. Every cut was an entry point for disease. Cholera, typhoid, and tetanus thrived in the contaminated water. A 10-year-old boy named William worked the Thames mudflats near London Bridge in 1794. One morning in March, he spotted a large piece of coal partially buried in the mud about 20 feet from shore. Coal was valuable. He waded toward it. The mud grew deeper with each step. When he reached the coal, the mud was up to his thighs. He bent down to pull the coal free. His right foot caught on something beneath the surface, likely a piece of submerged debris or metal. He tried to pull his leg up, but it would not move. He lost his balance and fell forward. His hands sank into the mud. His face went under. William struggled to push himself upright, but every movement only drove him deeper. The mud filled his nose and mouth. It was thick, almost solid, mixed with raw sewage and industrial runoff. He could not breathe. He could not scream. The tide was beginning to turn. Water slowly covered the spot where he had fallen. His body was found 3 days later, still partially buried in the mud.
They said there was dead bodies already in here, so everybody thought it was another dead body.
Fuller's urine stomp. In ancient Rome, Fullers operated laundries throughout the city. They cleaned the togas and tunics that every Roman citizen wore. The cleaning process required large quantities of stale urine. Urine contains ammonia, which breaks down oils.
Y'all were cleaning clothes with urine, bro?
And dirt and fabric. The Romans collected it from public urinals placed on street corners. Emperor Vespasian even placed a tax on urine collection because it was so valuable to the fulling industry.
Urine, bro.
The process was straightforward. Workers poured aged urine into large stone vats, then added the dirty clothing. The urine had to sit for days before use, allowing the ammonia concentration to increase. When it was ready, fullers would strip down and climb into the vats. They stomped on the fabric for hours, using their feet to work the ammonia through the cloth. The fumes were overwhelming. Ammonia burns the eyes, throat, and lungs, even in small amounts. The fullers spent entire days breathing concentrated ammonia vapor in enclosed spaces. Their skin stayed in constant contact with the chemical solution. Burns and rashes.
Really putting urine on shirts.
Ashes covered their legs and feet. Many developed chronic respiratory problems. Some lost their vision over time as the fumes damaged their eyes. A fuller named Marcus worked at a fullery in Rome for 8 years. In the summer of 73 AD, he was stomping tunics in a particularly deep vat. The heat made the ammonia vapors even stronger. The air in the fullery was thick with chemical fog. Marcus lost his footing on the slippery fabric beneath his feet. He fell backward into the vat. His head went under the surface. He inhaled pure ammonia solution. The chemical seared his airways instantly. His lungs tried to expel it, but only drew in more. The concentrated ammonia burned through the delicate tissue of his throat and lungs. 2 other workers pulled him from the vat within seconds, but the damage was already done. Marcus gasped for air, but his throat had swollen shut. Fluid began filling his lungs, a condition doctors now call chemical pneumonitis. He suffocated slowly over the next 4 hours, his chest heaving uselessly as his lungs drowned from the inside. Royal Rat Catcher.
RP to him.
Jack Black worked the streets and sewers of Victorian London in the 1840s. He called himself the Royal Rat Catcher to Queen Victoria, though the title was self-appointed. He wore a scarlet waistcoat and leather breeches, and he caught rats with his bare hands. Some he sold to homeowners for extermination. Others went to rat-baiting pits where dogs would fight them for entertainment and gambling. Black's technique relied on speed and precision. He would corner a rat... Some he sold to homeowners for extermination. Others went to rat-baiting pits where dogs would fight them for entertainment.
He would put it in a home?
A scarlet waistcoat and leather breeches, and he caught rats with his bare hands. Some he sold to homeowners for extermination.
He sold it to them for... I thought it was like if they didn't pay their, whatever they need to pay for the house, that they would give them rats.
Others went to rat-baiting pits where dogs would fight them for entertainment and gambling. Black's technique relied on speed and precision. He would corner a rat in a basement or sewer, then grab it by the tail or scruff of the neck before it could bite. He worked without gloves. He took pride in his skill, but even the most experienced rat catcher could not avoid every bite. Black suffered hundreds over his career. Rats carried diseases that could kill. Rat bite fever came from bacteria in their saliva. Leptospirosis spread through their urine. Plague remained a risk in the filthy conditions of London's poorest districts. Each bite pushed bacteria deep into tissue where infection could take hold quickly. In 1846, Black caught a large sewer rat near the Thames. The animal twisted in his grip and bit down hard on his right hand, tearing through the flesh between his thumb and forefinger. It was not the first time he had been bitten there. He wrapped the wound with a dirty cloth and continued working. Within 3 days, red streaks appeared on his forearm, spreading upward from the bite. His hand swelled to twice its normal size. Fever set in. He began shaking with chills even though his skin burned to the touch. The infection had entered his bloodstream.
I just feel like, bro, I mean, I don't know if they had doctors back then, but I would have to go to a doctor. Well, I mean, I don't go. I feel like if they didn't have gloves, they probably didn't have no doctors. But I mean, there's really nothing to do.
Without antibiotics, which would not exist for another century, his body had no defense against the bacteria multiplying in his blood. The infection reached his heart valves within a week. Bacterial endocarditis caused his heart to labor with every beat. He became delirious, thrashing in his bed and calling out incoherently. His family could only watch as the fever consumed him. Jack Black died 13 days after the rat bite, his heart finally giving out from the overwhelming infection.
RP to him.
Resurrectionists' grave robbery. In 19th century Britain, medical schools needed fresh corpses for anatomy students to dissect. The legal supply
They would dissect real human bodies.
Could not meet demand. A black market emerged. Men called resurrectionists dug up recently buried bodies and sold them to surgeons. The work paid well, 8 to 10 pounds per corpse, but it came with serious risks beyond arrest. The resurrectionists worked at night in teams. They targeted graves less than 48 hours old, before decomposition made the bodies unusable. They could uncover a coffin in 2 to 3 hours if they worked quickly. Breaking the lid open released the smell of death and whatever diseases the person had carried in life. The danger was invisible. Many infectious diseases remained active in corpses for days or even weeks after death. Smallpox, tuberculosis, and cholera could all spread from the dead to the living. The resurrectionists handled these bodies with bare hands, pulling them from coffins and hauling them through graveyards. They breathed in the air that rose from opened grave. If they had any cuts on their hands, pathogens entered directly into their blood. In 1812, a resurrectionist named Thomas worked with a gang in London. One night in August, they exhumed a woman who had been buried that morning. No one told them she had died from cholera. Thomas grabbed the body under the arms to lift it from the coffin. His hands touched her face and clothing. He inhaled deeply as he worked, pulling the corpse up through 6 feet of dirt. Within 12 hours, Thomas felt the first symptoms. Violent diarrhea struck without warning. His body expelled massive amounts of fluid. The characteristic rice water stools indicated cholera infection. Vomiting followed. He could not keep down even a sip of water. His skin took on a blue-gray color as severe dehydration set in. Muscle cramps seized his legs and arms. Thomas remained fully conscious through it all. Cholera does not affect the mind, only the body. He knew exactly what was happening as his organs began to fail. He died 36 hours after opening that grave, his body completely drained.
RP to him, man. Y'all just stay safe, bro. Make sure that y'all, if y'all do get a job or if you already have one, just try and enjoy as much as you can, bro. And just, pray for bigger and better opportunities as they are coming, man. But just don't be a slave to money. Keep grinding. You're gonna get there, bro. Love y'all, man. I'm over yesterday for sure.